One of my favorite stories is the, well, I won't even give it away, the Belgium story about the woman.
Aha. Okay, I know which one you mean. So when we got to Belgium, we didn't know that Brussels was the second most expensive city in the world. And we had basically about $1,500 that we'd borrowed from all our friends and enemies. And so we thought it was going to be cheap because we had our Europe on $5 a day book, and they forgot to put the 2 zeros in the book. So we were only going to last a very brief time. So, make a long story short, we were lost in the rain. It was Gillet's day off when we first went. We didn't have his phone numbers, and we needed a place to stay. We found this lady who looked like she spoke English and asked her if she knew where this particular place was in our book of Europe on $5 a day. And she said, well, I'll take you there. She did speak English. And so she took us to this hotel, and Diane went in. It turned out it was like $200 a night, and that was 1977, so that's big bucks. And so she said, well, I will take you to my house and you can spend the night in my maid's quarters. So she has a fancy house. She takes us there. We stay up in her attic. And since she had an ancient mother, she let us stay for a little while for the first week, and then we sort of babysat the mother here and there. And then turns out that the husband of this lady, had a sister in France who was just about to have a low back operation. And she was about 45, had a couple kids. She was scared to death of the operation because operations in those days were actually pretty gross.
Yeah.
They were not microsurgeries. And so I said, well, why don't you I told the husband, why don't you bring her here and have Dr. Gillet work on her? And maybe she won't need the operation. Somehow he fell for it. The sister makes a big 10-hour train trip from France to Brussels. Dr. Gillet comes to the house to work on her. And he checked out her low back, and he didn't find anything particularly exciting there. And he checked the rest of her spine and didn't find much to explain it. And so he went down to the knees, didn't find much there, went down to the feet and found problems in both feet. And so he did a couple of manipulations on mostly the left foot, and then he had her walk again. And as she walked, she had no pain.
Wow.
And she was amazed. And she started crying, and everybody in the room was amazed. It was just like it was a setup with Barnum and Bailey or something. You know, like a magician who had shills in the audience. And so she was way better. She came again the next day. He did similar work. She was out of the pain for the first time. All she had was like a pressure. And what the deal was, the husband said, and if you fix her, we won't charge any rent. That's the great part. And so she had a miracle cure with a foot manipulation, fixed her low back, and we stayed the next 4 months rent-free because we had no money.